So as a part of our kind of round table, even though we're on a straight table, I think a good question for all of you is Vince, we'll start with you. Has content officially proven itself to be a purchase driver, or is it still stuck up at the top of the funnel around building awareness and equity? Have you thought about the work that you guys are producing? What role is it really playing now?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's tough. I think directly relating any sort of content, and we'll just say online or mobile content, to direct purchase and sales, I think is a tough thing. I think you can hear that from some of the figures that we talked about earlier today. I think when you're talking about starting a conversation about a brand, it's a much easier thing to do with content. I feel just personally, and I'm sure everybody in the room feels this way, unless you're specifically looking for something online, it's very difficult to get a purchase from a content piece. And I'm not a media strategist or know much about media, to be honest, at all. I'm just a production guy. But, I think you look at what people watch and what they share and what really gets passed around. And it's more messaging about a brand and building a brand from the bottom up. And it's an idea, creative idea at the core that I think hopefully can radiate to help a brand push sales forward.
Tom, could you build? Would you say that staying at the top of the funnel is really, in large part, the appropriate place for branded content?
I think it varies depending on what your objective is from the outset. And what I mean by that is I really believe that putting a measurement plan in place and really have clearly defined objectives from the get-go will allow you to be able to work towards getting to that, what we call SMG or Starcom, Zero Dot Liquid Thread, is the last inch to retail. And I think that there are programs that we have done where we have used branded video content and actually created actual products that had only been featured within the branded video, which would be you could really isolate where and how the viewer or the consumer was actually hearing about it. So that was one way where it was easy for us to be able to determine with all the different messaging going on for a particular brand at a given time, what really isolated and drove towards saying that this actually moved product at retail. So I think that that is a push that we as a company are looking to do, is to try to make sure that content, branded video is being looked at as getting to that last inch to retail in the purchase funnel.
Okay. Just shifting gears a little bit, Jonathan, so you pointed out the kind of the luxury of, I no longer just have to think about the TV. How important, though, is, as you're developing, do you start off with, being agnostic, and to what degree does budget at all play in the development and execution of ideas?
You don't want to talk to me about measurement?
No, I thought I'd just skip on.
Yeah, well, we're actually very clued into it. But I think, so agnosticism or objectivity, is kind of native to media companies. I didn't know anything about media, when I started doing this 3.5 years ago either. But I was very envious of a lot of the stuff a lot of the real tools and sort of science, that they've got that would keep us from just kind of throwing darts and hoping somebody chuckles. There's a native neutrality, which I think is great. And I think necessarily, a lot of the consumer behavior science that we have collected, it really is not just, media consumption habits. I mean, it's real life experience. And we're paying really close attention to that. So so what it leads, so the agnosticism is built in, right? So we are solution neutral and channel neutral. I think, as far as money goes, I think that for a tiny fraction, generally speaking, of what a traditional media budget would be, we can think about, create, and maybe build, an experience, a relevant brand experience that would be worth making content from. I think that's been our experience. It's usually more brains than cash. You see most interesting stuff happening in places where they don't have the ability to spend their way, into carpet bombing the country with messages. The ingenuity comes from just a lack of financial resources, and we're happy to work that way.